Hey y'all, just wanted to do another quick lesson learned video. So in this case, again, this is a Gen 4 block, came out of an '07-'08 Silverado. So one of the things I've learned from doing this process is a little bit more about the tensioners. So this is a double roller chain here, but this is the stock tensioner. Whether it's good to reuse them or not, probably not, but I'm going to do it anyway. But this is the stock tensioner. It kind of forces this side of the chain out, and as I understand it, the engine rotates counterclockwise. So this is where the slack would be, because this is always going to be under tension. This side here, this side will have some slack. So this tensioner is trying to keep that from flapping around, I guess. But one of the things I learned from doing this research is that primarily that it's okay to have some slack, based on what I've read on the forums. It's alright to have a little bit of slack. Obviously you want these dots to line up, which mine aren't right now, but that's not a big deal. I tested it and made sure it does. So, but the biggest thing is you want to make sure the dots line up. If the slack is not doing that, that's not good. But from what I've learned from calling comp cams, and hopefully this is true, is that this tension is good. I was afraid that this tension was going to be too much and that it was going to put too much pressure on it and cause this chain to snap, but they don't believe so. So I guess we'll see what happens when I fire it up for the first time. But the other thing is, I wanted to show you is, so for instance, this is I guess it's called a damper. It's not really a tensioner because it doesn't really put any tension on the chain. It just kind of sits in between, and there's no tension on the chain. So I think it kind of keeps this from flapping around again. But it is a damper, and one of the things I found out was that there's two actually do different bolt sizes. So here's the bolt for the damper, which, as you can see, it's kind of a little thicker. So this is the bolt for the damper here, and then this is the bolt for the actual tensioner. So as you can see, it's quite significantly shorter, hence that area right there where the bolt goes through. And so what I was running into was I put these bolts in the tensioner right here, and had them tightened down, torqued down. Everything was great, and then I was trying to rotate the engine around to make sure that the timing marks still aligned correctly, and then of course I get a clunking noise because I was trying to rotate it and the counterweights were hitting the end of the bolt. So just an item of note, they are different sizes. Here's the shorter version, and here's the longer version. I'll put them side by side so you can kind of see the difference, but significantly shorter. So as you can see, I kind of marred that one up a little bit, knocking it with the crankshaft counterweight. So just a little item of note, and so now I'm going to go ahead and place these two bolts and put the oil pump on. So stand by for that. Alright, gonna go ahead and torque this up to 18 foot-pounds. One of the things I forgot to mention is that apparently some of the Gen 3s, or I don't know, but all of them or some of them, but don't even have this. So If you're Gen 3, then none of this may even apply to you. Okay. Okay, so now it's time to put the oil pump on. Here it is. It's got to match up to the crankshaft snout like so. One of the things that this kit came with was it came with these spacers that you mount on the oil pump to push it out a little bit for the double roller chain. So there's a certain way you got to put these spacers on, so I'm going to try to figure that out. Looks like this. Okay, another thing, both torque spec on the tensioner and the oil pump bolts is supposedly 18 foot-pounds. The oil pump bolts are a 10 millimeter, and the tensioner bolts are a 13 millimeter. So I'll go ahead and do those now. Alright, so that kind of concludes this portion. Can't put the front cover on until I put the oil pickup tube back on. That's obviously the next step, is to put the front cover on. But I'm looking at getting a different oil pan, probably a smaller one for lower clearance. So it looks like until I get that new oil pan and pickup tube, pretty much at a stopping point. So that concludes this portion. Alright, stay tuned for more. Thanks. Okay, so just as a little bonus, just wanted to show the underside of the crankshaft here, and let you kind of get a glimpse of what the underside looks like. This is just my particular engine, so there's a lot of discoloration and stuff, but this is what it looks like. Here's the crank gear that, as you can see, it gets a reading off of this. This is the crank gear that they're talking about with the, I believe it's 58X crank position sensor on these particular engines for Gen 4. It's a gray sensor and it's right here, so that's where it's taking its reading from. Alright, just wanted to show you a little bit of the underside of the engine while it's still open. Oh, one more thing. So I'm not going to use the damper, but if you decide to use the damper, here's the part number. It looks like it's 125888670. So that's the damper part number if you're interested.